All right, today we are going to make Swedish meatballs. We made this pressure cooker recipe based on Ikea's recipe that they actually released to the public.
And it's a super easy shortcut dump and go recipe like people have been asking for.
It starts with frozen meatballs. You don't have to worry about thawing them. You don't have to make the meatballs. So if you want to, awesome. But if you need something quick for weeknights, we've got you covered.
So let's get started.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Barbara.
And we're with Pressure Cooking Today. Okay, so we've got our Instant Pot Pro here. So in the recipe I specify to add the ingredients to the bottom of the pot and then add the frozen meatballs. I do that because sometimes I forget to put the liquid in the pot and then I come back to it like, why didn't you cook? You have to have a liquid in the pot.
Yeah, and so instead of using a water to cook the meatballs, we're going to use a beef broth because then you can just make your gravy.
Right, with beef
So
broth.
it's a shortcut.
So we'll add
1 cup of beef broth.
Okay. We've got our 4 tablespoons of butter. And then some dried parsley and some pepper. Now we are using our silicone steamer basket. It holds a whole ton of meatballs or whatever you're cooking. The sides stay in place when you pull it out of the pot. For pictures on our site, sometimes we'll use our pretty stainless steel one because it looks really nice. But for everyday cooking, we tend to use this one.
And the reason that we're not cooking the meatballs in the gravy because it makes it easier to make the gravy afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you're done pressure cooking, you just take this out, let it rest on a plate while you make your gravy. So when we're taking pictures for the blog, we usually use this metal steamer. It's got little feet.
So it's fine if the butter is in a big cube, but since
Yeah.
we're using this silicone one, it doesn't have big feet, just has this little bit on the bottom.
Sliced it
We
into
cut
little.
up our butter, yeah.
So
we're going to go ahead and lock that in place, put that in, put our lid on.
yep, just double check the sealing ring is in place. Lock the lid. And it's just a 4-minute high pressure cook time.
Okay, so the pressure's been released.
Quick pressure release, and we will unlock the lid. Usually has some water, so it should get off.
So our meatballs are hot, so we're just going to pull them out, set them aside.
Okay, and so now we're going to make a slurry, right? You still call it a slurry even when it's just flour?
Yeah, we're going to use more beef broth. So we've got 3/4 of a cup of beef broth, a third of a cup of flour, and we're using Wonder flour because it dissolves much easier.
I'd never heard of this before Mom introduced me to it, and it is made for like dissolving into sauces.
It's made for gravies and such. And then we've got a little bit of soy sauce.
Yeah, go ahead and add it. And it's really important that you get this mixture nice and
Dissolved.
smooth,
Yeah.
because any lumps that are in this will transfer to your sauce.
Right, you'll get a lumpy gravy if you don't take the time to just whisk it.
This is what the Wonder flour looks like. Initially, I was going to the grocery store looking for it in like a sack of flour, like the regular all-purpose comes. But this is usually, at my grocery store, it's up high by the cornstarch.
Right.
And it just comes, I think that's the only size I've ever seen it come
Yeah.
in, just that little guy. But because you only use a little bit for sauces, it lasts a nice long time. So then you'll just add this to the hot broth in the pot. I like to whisk it while I add it, just to prevent it from seizing up. When you're using this much beef broth with the flour, it generally doesn't seize up. Oh, there's a little bit. See, got a little bit there, so don't add that. Just cut that part.
You can even just take a little bit of the hot liquid and dissolve it.
Really?
No? Guess you can't.
Seem to want to.
It's just not a good mixing bowl.
Yeah. So you can see it's already starting to turn that nice brown color you see in gravy. But we want it to boil for a little bit so that the flour taste kind of cooks out.
Yeah, just like a couple minutes is all it takes.
Yeah. Sometimes I stir too much. You got to give it a minute to let it boil, but you don't want to go too long without stirring because it can start to settle on the bottom.
So while it's boiling like that, we can go ahead and add our Dijon mustard.
Yes. This is Grey Poupon. Just a little bit. I think it's a teaspoon, right?
A tablespoon?
I think it's a teaspoon. Okay.
Yep, just a teaspoon.
And you
can see how nice and thick it's gotten. And we're going to finish it off by adding some heavy cream to give it that rich, creamy Swedish meatball texture and flavor that everyone is used to.
One thing is you don't want it to boil with the cream, so I generally turn the pressure cooker off. You can just plug it or hit cancel. I can't see what you're doing. So I turn that off and then add the cream.
Just gradually add it in. So I'll go ahead and stir that. And you go ahead and grab our meatballs.
Okay.
As soon as your cream is mixed in evenly.
If you have picky children, this is where you put the meatballs on their plate and their gravy in a separate bowl so it's not touching. But I really like to add the meatballs back in so they get coated with that nice flavorful gravy. We'll just pick them up, dump them back in.
And spoon.
All right, so they're all mixed in. Typically they're served over mashed potatoes or like an egg noodle, whatever is your preference. We made these mashed potatoes in advance. We've got a video on that. If you want, just click on over to watch that.
So let's dish it up.
Okay, how much mashed potatoes do you want on there?
Oh, just a nice portion. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Like that.
I think you got to have some down the side anyway.
Okay.
And maybe just a little bit more gravy. What do you think?
Sure. I think yes. Got 3 little guys back here and then 1 runaway over there.
I think
Is that
that's
all right?
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 and 1, that's just what you're supposed to have. Odd numbers.
There we go. All right, so we've got our meatballs. I like to garnish it with just a little bit of fresh chopped parsley, just for looks. And then it's often served with a lingonberry jam. This one was just at my local grocery store. I know Ikea sells it seasonally. And we just put it in a little jar on the side so you can kind of have the perfect ratio. It's kind of like cranberry sauce and turkey, right? Like it's that sweet, savory, tart combo. It's
Exactly.
delicious.
It's a little salty, a little sweet.
Yeah. So if you make this, please leave us a comment. Let us know how it goes. Have any questions? We'd love to hear from you. And be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. You should say. Say.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.